Hello, my name is Karen Logidici, and I am the director and the facilitator at New England Dyslexia Solutions here in beautiful Amesbury, Massachusetts. And I wanted to pop on just for a quick Facebook Live to talk about something that has come up in conversations with some parents of kids with dyslexia recently, and that is the idea of focus and how focus can affect a person's ability to read accurately and how it all fits in with dyslexia. And it actually plays a much bigger role in dyslexia than a lot of people think. It's also an area that most programs, most school system programs, does not address. It does not address the idea of focus as part of any kind of remediation in typical programs. So I wanted to kind of shine some light on how focus can affect a person who is dyslexic. And in the program that I provide, and if you are logging on, if you can just put your put a comment in the comment box, that would be really great so I know who's here. And feel free to ask questions as we go. It's super fun to have interaction. So this idea of focus, I want to put it in a real world way, which is that we all lose focus throughout the day, right? And there's a word that we use in the Davis community, which is the program that I provide, the Davis Dyslexia Correction Program, which is called disorientation. And disorientation is just a disconnect between what you are thinking about and what is actually happening in the physical world, right? So we can tend to kind of have our mind drift off, and at that point, we're processing what our mind is thinking about versus what is right in front of us. We can all experience this. It's kind of a human phenomenon where, you might be driving in your car and your mind drifts off. You're thinking about where you need to go, what you're going to be doing. You're thinking about the past. You're thinking about the future. And you're kind of just going on autopilot and your body is moving. You're turning the wheel. You're stepping on the brake. You're, putting on your blinker, hopefully. And you might arrive at your destination and realize, oh my goodness, I don't even remember how I got here, right? So if that has ever happened to you, if you can give me a little thumbs up or hearts or something so that we can connect on that front, because it happens to all of us at some point or another. Another example would be if you were maybe sitting in a boring meeting. Hello, Sarah. Good to see you. You're sitting in a boring meeting at work or something, and your mind drifts off and you start thinking about, what you're going to be cooking for dinner when you get home. Hey, Samantha, how are you? Good to see you. And so you're off in your mind and you're thinking about, something over here about making dinner, and the stimulus, you're not processing what's happening in the meeting, right? So it might start to sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. So it happens to all of us. However, when you are dyslexic or you have ADD or ADHD, autism, the reason why you disorient is, there are many, many different reasons, but ultimately it boils down to being confused, being bored, and having a shaky foundation in things that are academic maybe, or social, or whatever it is. So something happens and it triggers a confusion of some kind. So it triggers some kind of confusion, and your mind kind of goes to a place where it's problem solving. And once we're in that problem solving mode, we are disoriented and we're no longer processing what we're seeing accurately or what we're hearing accurately. It's just the same as when you've had that experience of being in your car and then you arrive at your destination and don't remember how you got there, right? So it's the same thing. We have a lot of people who are dyslexic who are very, very smart, right? And there are different levels of dyslexia. So there are lots of people, like I would be considered one of those people who I could read. So if you were to give me a book and say, okay, read this, I would be able to read it and, it would be okay. But what would happen is that I would get to the end of the page, or maybe I would even have gone, 2 or 3 pages, or maybe even an entire chapter, and realized that I hadn't processed what was on the page, right? So that happens all the time. You have someone who's dyslexic and they're, they look like they're reading, and then you say, well, what was that all about? Or they're trying to answer questions about it, and they can't get that information out because they were disoriented when they were reading. So focus actually plays a huge, huge, huge role in dyslexia. It is nothing to do with with intelligence, right? So most people with dyslexia have a average or above average IQ. And there are reasons why people with dyslexia disorient with symbols and words and punctuation, and that's because a lot of symbols have confusing shapes or confusing sounds. So they have been through, phonics and, can't really quite grasp why a C doesn't really have its own sound, but can make the k and the s, and so when do you use it? And when you see it in a word, how are you sounding that out? And so there's confusion. That's just one minor example. But that can cause confusion, and confusion automatically brings you to a disoriented state. There are punctuation marks that, may have been missed along the way. So not understanding why is there this little line in between these two words? So a hyphen, what the heck? What is it? There's this subconscious kind of skip that can bring someone into a disoriented state. And then there are also words that are confusing. So in many instances, what is causing a dyslexic to become disoriented are actually words that they can't process in their thinking style, which is picture thinking. So if you have a dyslexic child or you are dyslexic yourself, you're going to resonate with the idea that that person thinks in pictures. The thought process of someone with dyslexia is almost like an alternate reality in that it's very pictorial, it has movement, it has sound, it is object driven. And when you are processing words, when you're trying to read and you're trying to comprehend what you're reading, you're building a picture in your mind of what is going on. And there are words in the English language, actually all languages, that don't conjure a picture. So sight words tend to be a big problem for someone with dyslexia. It's almost like there are these potholes that are in the road and you're just constantly being thrown into these potholes. There's 60% of any given paragraph are made up of these little words like and, if, but, because, for, from, the, all of these little words that can't be processed the same way as a word that can be experienced or that we understand, like lamp, desk, car, cat, cloud, right? So what you might find is even a word that, like cloud, that might be hard to sound out, will be way more easily recognized by someone with dyslexia than the word the. So they might be adding the word the, or transposing those words, or leaving them out, or omitting them completely. So those little words tend to be a problem. And those little words will cause the focus to be disengaged, right? Because once you get to a certain point and you're not understanding what those words mean, and you're not grasping, you're not actually processing what is happening on that page, you become disoriented, and then you're not seeing things accurately, and you're having all kinds of mistakes, which can lead to emotional outbursts, exhaustion. It's one thing after another. So one of the important things to understand about dyslexia is that focus is actually a key reason why they're having problems, because they're not able to maintain a present state of mind while they're trying to do a task. And if you think of any task that you've ever done where, you have not been present, you either won't remember it, or it is, it may be confusing or frustrating. You might make a mistake. So it just kind of stands to reason that we need to provide someone with dyslexia the ability to learn how to focus. Now, this is something that is so simple. It's so simple to teach someone this tool, yet it is not taught in most classrooms. So my wish is that every single student that enters the school system in kindergarten would receive the tools and the ability to know how to get yourself mentally centered, mentally back, so that you can experience what's going on in the physical world and be able to learn in that state. So there's what we call state management, and it's so important for every student, for every person, to be able to work with tools that will help them to be relaxed and alert and focused. And without these tools, academics and school and social situations, communicating, those are all going to be difficult. Now, that can be for any person, but particularly for a dyslexic individual who thinks in pictures and has a hard time mapping a symbol back to a picture. So I hope that this is helpful. There are absolutely ways that we can teach kids and adults how to center themselves mentally, how to become oriented to their environment, how to pay attention and notice when your mind starts to drift away so that you're not wasting a ton of time trying to learn something in a disoriented state, and being able to use relaxation techniques. There can be a lot of stress that can happen when you're in a situation trying to understand something, trying to pay attention in class, when you're kind of being pulled away from that. So there's embarrassment, there's a fear of making mistakes. So being able to get yourself relaxed and working with, paying attention to where your internal energy is, with respect to what you're being expected to do. So if you're expected to be sitting down and paying attention, you can't be at a level of energy where you're wanting to run around on the playground. So there are some very simple tools and techniques that we employ at New England Dyslexia Solutions to be able to provide people with dyslexia and ADD and ADHD with the tools that they need in order to be successful in a classroom. So focus is a huge part of dyslexia. And if you have a dyslexic child, or you're dyslexic yourself and you struggle with maintaining your focus or maintaining your state management when you are in a situation where you're reading or communicating or dealing with words or symbols or confusing things, then these tools are so important. So if you have any questions, or you're interested in finding out any more information about how to manage or actually create tools that would be able to help with that focus, please reach out. Please call me. It is very simple. They're very simple techniques, but they do need practice. So you've got to practice with them. I do still have a couple of boot camp weeks left for the summer. So if that's something that you are considering doing over this summer, then please reach out soon so that you can get on my schedule. So I hope that this has been helpful, and I will continue to be looking in the comments of this video for additional questions that come up from people who are looking at the replay. And I look forward to being a resource for you and your family. Please feel free to visit ne-dyslexia.com. There's tons of information out there. Also on dyslexia.com, which is the Davis website. Looking forward to chatting with you and seeing how we can help. All right, thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.